In this video, I'm going to talk about how you can shift your life track. This is the destination you are headed in, and I'm going to give you the technique on altering this destination so that it can harmonize with your desire, so that you will certainly and inevitably arrive in a present moment where what you want manifests for real. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Tom, and I make videos that help you empower your higher self and manifest your dream life. If you'd like to win 60 minutes of one-on-one coaching with me, comment below "It is done." Winners are announced every week. So I don't really talk about reality transurfing too much. I more focus on law of attraction and manifestation from Neville Goddard and Abraham Hicks and things like that. But I actually do have a very strong fondness for more of a scientific approach and lens with looking at how manifestation really works. And so in the book Reality Transurfing, there's this model and idea of life tracks. And this is the idea that you are in a certain track, a certain script, like in a movie. And a movie starts from A and it finishes at Z. And it will carry along that no matter what disc you put in, wherever you buy the movie, whatever movie store or Netflix, the script always runs the same. The movie doesn't change itself. So if you watch 21 Jump Street last year, this year, you put that CD in, you stick it on Netflix, it will always be Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum doing the exact same thing from start to finish. And that's kind of like life and the life track you are currently on. Before you get concerned, the whole idea in reality transurfing is that there are an infinite number of possible destinations for you, and that you can choose your optimum and ideal life track that has your desires as your dreams already laid out on it. So all you have to do is transfer yourself onto this script and allow it to carry you and guide you towards these dreams and desires. So it becomes more of an effortless and empowered state of being, and there are various techniques that I'm going to give you to shift to your ideal life track. So where does all of this information come from? And how does the writer Vadim Zeland actually bring about the notion of alternate timelines and alternate life tracks that we can manifest and see in our everyday experience unfold? And the whole idea is that he talks about how reality is infinite. And what he means by this is that it manifests in infinite numbers of forms. It reflects our worldviews in particular, and how we observe the world is how it shows up for us. And it's not that one version or way of looking at the world is right, more correct than another. It's just that no matter what we want to interpret as the external world, it will reflect that back to us. And so he gives in the book the idea of science and materialism, and that when you look at the world from that point of view, the world gives you that as evidence. Or if you're an idealist and you realize or think that the world is immaterial in its nature, the world reveals that as well. It's this idea that there's a malleable nature to reality, and that is based on our interpretation, our perception, our state of consciousness with which the world arises and reflects back to us. It can only be seen through one point of view at a time, and it will manifest back that point of view. But outside this point of view is infinite possibility. And not just in interpreting the 3D world, but in dimensions of reality itself, as in a dimension outside of this 3D physical time-space reality. So not only can you interpret this world we find ourselves in infinite different ways and hold whatever beliefs you like about that, and it will be made manifest and reflected back to you as true, but beyond where we live and exist and experience life right now, there are other manifestations of the infinite consciousness that is reality. What does all this mean, and what am I talking about? Well, it's a fairly out there idea, but when you get into spirituality and you resonate with the idea that you are a multi-dimensional being and that you come from a source greater than yourself, This source is known as the source consciousness in the Abraham Hicks teachings, or in Neville Goddard it may be referred to as God. This one infinite consciousness or being that spawns all of life into existence in infinite numbers of dimensions and realities. This is what we're talking to about. There's a layer, and even though we can't perceive it and there's no way to really measure this, it's something that you can experience intuitively and also expand your consciousness to become more aware of and sort of tap into the reality of that. So for myself, in meditation, I've been able to expand my own awareness by turning within and realizing that there is a plane of existence that is beyond this physical reality. That's equally real, if not realer, yet it just doesn't have a relevancy in actually appearing in this physical reality. And of course, spiritual teachers and enlightened masters will point to the same thing when they say, turn within, you'll find all the answers, because what they're talking about is the fact that within you is an expansive, vast consciousness from which all life forms, the source consciousness. So I hope you can get around that. A scientific angle, of course, from quantum physics would be the idea that this source consciousness is actually known as the quantum field, which is this infinite field of energy beyond space and time itself, containing all kinds of information and the potentiality of this information which can be drawn in to this physical reality as it collapses at a quantum particle level, but then at a macro level in the forms we see in our waking reality with our senses. So anyway, there's all these different models from a more spiritual, esoteric angle and also a scientific angle as well. And reality transurfing with this idea that reality is infinite kind of hits in the middle, but it is scientific, I'd say, more than esoteric. So we have this infinite field that all of existence is in. We can call it the quantum field the source consciousness. We've established that. That's what it is. Reality has infinite manifestations to it. And so we are left with this field, which Vadim Zeland calls the alternative space, but I'm just going to call it the source consciousness or the quantum field. And that's what is denoted by this circle. Imagine that this circle is absolutely infinitely containing everything. And if you like, to keep this easier, we can put a little infinite symbol there. And in this field are different sectors. And a sector, as I define it, is basically a portion of infinite consciousness at any given present moment. It's a certain portion of the whole, a piece. And so we have all these different sectors, and they are at different distances, even though distance probably really isn't a notion in this infinite kind of spectrum with different dimensions. We can kind of use the phrase distance to imply that there are different manifestations, vastly different manifestations. So for example, in sector A, this portion of the infinite consciousness, there may be, I don't know, a 127th dimensional extraterrestrial race reality of light bodies flying around. We have no clue where the infinite possibilities of manifested form and different species, different lives, and different dimensions. But this, what I'm trying to imply is that, say up here we have a completely unknown and foreign manifestation of reality that maybe we'll never ever discover, at least in this life and this universal perspective, unless we, of course, find technology or inner transformative tools that allow us to access this place, which you do find out more and more from stories about people that try all these plant medicines and stuff. There seems to be this possibility to communicate and interact with very, very vastly different manifestations of reality. But let's just say this sector over here is completely foreign, and in this section here, this sector D, we may call this planet Earth, and the earthly realm, so it's planet Earth there, and we exist in there, so there's you. And so this is our manifested form of reality, this 3D physical reality. And we have you in that. And the thing about the manifestation of sectors is that they tend to manifest in a sequence, at least they do for us, meaning that there is a script that follows a certain linear sequence, and it makes sense from our perspective, meaning each present moment at a time, each manifestation of the infinite consciousness will be in a sequence that makes sense. For example, if I move my hand here to here, even though there was different manifestations of reality, one present moment, the next, the next, the next, they flow in a sequence and they're creating a timeline. And so that's what's mentioned here, is that we are at any given moment, we can freeze reality and realize that everything at that point is one manifestation of infinite consciousness. We'll expand to another present moment and another, but all of these are simultaneously frozen present moments. So there's no such thing as an actual flow of time. It's just present manifestations of consciousness, one after the other. That's what reality, in a sense, is. Now, why am I telling you all this really out there confusing stuff, which in a sense, I think is theoretical to a degree. We can't exactly prove this, as much as quantum physics seems to back up these sort of ideas, and there are spiritual experiences you can have yourself. But even in the book, Vadim says you don't really need to understand the depth of it, the details exactly, for the method to work itself. The method itself, applying the techniques of transferring your life track, will be enough proof to realize that it works, it's beneficial to you, and your desires can come to life. So that's what we'll talk about in a second. So we find ourselves in a present moment, but here's the key. When we're on this present moment and we do nothing, we just keep thinking the same habitual thoughts, acting out the same habits, holding the same beliefs, we will just continue along a life track, a script that is already set out that corresponds with these thoughts, feelings, and actions that are habitually part of us. And so we will get results that maybe we want it, maybe we don't. And no matter how much we fight against it, we work harder, we try and achieve goals, we try and dominate our reality, it doesn't seem to work, at least all the time. If it does work, it's because it's part of that script already, or a person is actually changing their frequency of consciousness, which is actually the key in shifting your life track. So how do you shift your consciousness to a life track, to a script that's going to play out, that has your desires already part of it, so they manifest? Well, before we cover that, it's important to know that our thought energy, our consciousness, creates our reality. And here's a quote that's really powerful. When the parameters of thought energy change, a shift occurs to a different lifeline. So when you change your frequency of consciousness, your thoughts, beliefs, and actions, you are shifted. You are now expanding in a new way. It's like you've taken one DVD out of the DVD player, the old life, and you've put a subtly different new DVD in. That's still your life, and it still will flow out from the same point in a seamless way. But actually, as the movie goes along, when you get to the 1 hour mark, even the 2 hour mark, rounding to the end, the destination and the story arc will be quite different. One will have your dream life in it, and one may not. So, we change our inner state, and we arrive at our desire. The thing is that in Reality Transurfing, the book, he says it's hard to always see how is there a cause and effect relationship between what we think and what shows up in our external world. And it is difficult to kind of monitor. Say our desire is to manifest a specific person into our lives, or a certain amount of financial freedom, a certain purpose in life and impact on other people. And it tends to be lofty and defy our conventional understanding of the physical laws of the universe and how logic and the limitations of what's possible in the materialist paradigm of thinking, which dismisses all this kind of stuff as mere coincidence. It's very scientific, it's very left brain oriented, and your desire may have to rely on a lot of random events, a lot of luck to manifest. And so if our desire is all the way up here and it seems very far off and in the distance, we don't believe it's possible. And we don't back ourselves in faith and knowing long enough to allow the events of life to flow to us and know the whole time that it is all part of this perfectly unfolding life path. Because, right, within this lifeline, we select our desire. I'll explain how to do this in a second. There may be all kinds of evidence like this, all kinds of ups and downs, some of them positive, some of them negative. But to our linear rational mind, which have been so programmed to look at the senses and look at the logic of things, As soon as we see negatives, we emit new thought energy and we shift our lifeline back off our desires. So 1 minute we're in faith, we're in knowing, we're thinking positively, we're flowing with life no matter what we see externally. We're aligned. We're flowing on that disc, that movie disc playing out towards our desire. And then we see something else and we take out that disc of faith, that disc of knowing, we put in a new movie, we start playing out an old one that's going to end in a lackluster desire, something we don't want. So the key is an understanding of this model to really get into you this sense of knowing and this ability to flow with life and assume that all of it is positively unfolding. So, within this analogy, when you have your desire, how do you shift your thought energy so that you can get that new DVD disc with your desire in it and insert it into the DVD player so it will automatically play out for you? Well, firstly, you have to shift your consciousness, either by a change in your belief system or through imagination. With imagination, what you can do is select a scene that implies your desire has been realized. So if it's a specific person, you may want to see yourself holding your hands, walking in a dream holiday destination, and allowing that to be the target frame, that target sector of consciousness that you want to manifest. And you want to imagine that every single day and feel into that reality and emit new thought energy so that that remains in your DVD player and that movie starts playing out. Then you will still have a storyline. It'll go up and down, but you have to keep living in that end. Live in the end, as Neville Goddard says. Stick to that desired frame, no matter what the logic of the reality says. Because, as we said, one of the fundamentals of reality creation is that life itself, reality itself, reflects your assumptions about it, your beliefs about it. So if you believe you've inserted that DVD disc, the movie's playing, and everything's unfolding perfectly, that is exactly what you will manifest. Reality will agree. So that's number one. And then to change your beliefs is to apply a desire tape or affirmations and to repeat these new beliefs that describe who you are in your self-image and also your life. Descriptions about your life, your dream life coming true. You want to keep saying these over and over again and soaking in the emotion of what those beliefs imply about who you are and what it feels like to be you in your dream life. And constantly keep emitting those and living in those emissions to the field and allowing the field to then manifest the physical form in reality. And that's basically it. At the end of the day, it is the knowing itself, the faith itself, which you must choose within yourself to have. That becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that manifests your desire. Because beliefs create reality, reality is a mirror of our perspectives on it, our worldviews, our beliefs, our assumptions. So those are my tips for shifting your lifeline, shifting your life track, to arrive in a place where your desire manifests. I hope you enjoyed this reality transurfing perspective of everything. And if you did, leave me a comment and I'll make more videos on it. Otherwise, please like this video, please leave me a comment, subscribe to my channel, and check out my website if you'd like to have one-on-one coaching with me.